Namaskar and welcome to today's session on online geodata sharing and cybersecurity. Today we'll be discussing about the challenges in geodata sharing, especially through the online data repositories, either it is through web services, API, or physical data sharing. What are the cybersecurity threats here, and how we can overcome these threats by applying the secure data sharing practices. My name is Harish Karnatak. I am from Indian Institute of Remote Sensing, ISRO, Dehradun. Before understanding the cyber security issues and threats in the geographical data or geospatial data, let us try to understand or try to just see what exactly it is. What is geodata? So basically, geodata, which is also known as geographical data, basically it represents the location information, or sometimes we also call it as a geospatial data. Geo plus spatial means geo is related to geography, spatial means space and time. So geographical data in space and time is basically called as a geodata or geographical data. This data refer to a data information that has the explicit or implicit association with a location relative to Earth. And the geospatial data is used to visually depict and better understand the impact of human activities based on specific geographical locations. So here you can see that location is important, and geodata is very important for any infrastructure development projects, planning, strategic applications, disaster management, agricultural planning, resource utilizations, location-based services, and so on. There are plenty of applications, especially in the planning and decision-making activities. The geodata or geographical data plays very important role. And the good geodata is critical for telecommunication industries, which is a fifth generation network like 5G networks, which relies on the current high resolution maps to deliver the valuable context of for informed data driven decision making. So when we are talking about the 5G era, where the location specific data is going to play very important role. If you see the business strategies by different companies are designed and developed based on the location of the customer. So how they detect the location of the customer? Typically, you know that when we need to identify or we need to detect the location of any object in Earth's surface, we use the different type of technologies. These technologies varies from the IP to location based services, or our GNSS based services, where global navigation satellite systems like GPS, Navig, or we have the GLONASS and so on. These services are capable to provide the location of an object in Earth's surface. And the location data we use in a domain called geographical information system, or geographical information science, or geographical information studies. So here this particular domain is known as GIS, and it is giving the information about a place on our surface, and it has the capability to answer the typical question like what, where, and when. So these are the basic fundamental questions which we can basically look into the data. And most important is time. So in this domain we can study the data with respect to a time, how things are changing in due course of time. So when we study this particular domain with respect to the technology, then we called it as a geographical information system. And when we study this subject as a concept and theory, then it is referred to a geographical information science. When it is basically discussed or studies with respect to societal context, then it is called as a geographical information studies. In the geospatial technology, we have three important sources of data. which is Global Navigation Satellite System, Remote Sensing, and GIS. So when I say the Global Navigation Satellite System or GNSS, it is a system of Earth orbiting satellites which can provide precise location of a object. Either it is a dynamic object or a static object. Dynamic means it can be a moving object, and here we capture the location of a object in the form of latitude, longitude, and altitude. So you are familiar with this technology very much, and today we are using one of the most popular or famous technology from NASA, that is called GPS, Global Positioning System. GPS is available in our mobile device, and by using the GPS we can get the location of ourselves, or maybe we can get the location wherever we are moving. So here the location is captured through a system called Global Positioning System, which is basically capturing the location of a static and dynamic object through the navigation satellite system. The another important technology which plays a very important role in the geospatial technology is called remote sensing. Remote sensing is a technology, basically it captures the information about the Earth's surface without physical contact of the object. So through the sensor system, through the electronic sensor system, it captures the information about the object. And these sensor systems are deployed in a satellite platforms or sometime in the aerial platform. Sometimes we can also deploy these sensors in drones. So it can capture the information about the object in Earth's surface, and this information can be stored and managed in the GIS technology. And here the one of the important technology called ortho rectification of the image or ortho rectification of observation, which basically generate a precise information about the location. So here when we do the ortho rectification process, we basically correct our image with respect to the terrain information, because the information what we are capturing through these sensors cannot be a simple static image like JPEG image or PNG image, because we need to consider the terrain information as well while calculating the information about the Earth object, because ultimately when we do these observations we are going to do some type of calculation with these observations. Either it is the measurements of the distance, area, or vertical distance or horizontal distance or area and so on. So here terrain is going to play a very important role. The data input from GNSS and remote sensing are basically used in GIS as data input, and GIS can offer a very strong data storage mechanism. It also offer the data manipulation, data analysis techniques, and also the technique for visualization or display of this data in the form of the maps or the statistical chart, graphs, table, and so on. So by combining all these three technology together, the new technology is emerged, which is known as a geospatial technology. If you try to understand the knowledge base of GIS, here three important disciplines are playing very, very important role. One very, very important discipline is computer science, of course, because it offers the different techniques of data management, data storage, data analysis, graphics, visualizations, and data security, cyber security, which is very, very important here. The different type of computation technique can be applied with this data, and then we can analyze this data as per our requirement. It can give us lot of information, lot of knowledge about the geography, and we can use this data in different type of applications. And these applications what I am listing here are not limited. Some of the popular applications like public administrations, planning, geological application, mineral exploration, forestry and environment studies, site selections, marketing, civil engineering, criminal or GIS and then surveying, mapping, urban planning, agriculture's resource mapping, land cover, land use mapping, and there are so many applications where we can use this particular technology for solving a specific problem of a geography. Then the another discipline which plays a very important role is a geography itself, because ultimately we are dealing with the geographical data. So then we should have knowledge about the cartography, geodesy, photogrammetry, landform, and spatial statistics, and so on. So if you try to understand here the complete understanding of this subject, basically it is a teamwork. Here we need the expert from different domain, and they can join together and they can offer the solution to their customers. So here the computer expert, the theme expert, and a geographer has to combine together. Otherwise, you cannot be an expert for all the domains. So here the teamwork is very, very important. So what type of data is there for this particular discipline? Maybe during this course, in the last sessions, my colleague must have discussed about the attribute data, spatial data, raster data, and vector data, and so on. If you just summarize here what exactly this data is, the first type of data which is here is a spatial data. Spatial means space and time information is stored here. So here two data models are very popular. One is called raster data model, second is called vector data model. Raster data model typically we use where we need to store the continuous surface. For example, we want to store the rainfall patterns or temperature patterns in our locality. So in that case, we need to generate the continuous surface, because you cannot draw the exact boundaries to define these patterns of rainfall, temperature, soil moisture, and so on. So here the boundary will change gradually. Suddenly boundary will not change. In such kind of data storage, that is called as a continuous surface, we use the raster data model. The another vector data model where we basically store, we need to define the discrete boundaries. For example, the boundaries of a playground or an exact network of a line feature like road. So exactly we can draw the roads where roads are well defined. Similarly, different type of land covers like cropland, forest land, or maybe we can store other land cover information in the form of the map as a polygon features. So polygon geometry we can use to store our data into database system. So another important geometry in the vector is a point, which basically store the location of an object. So here point, line, and polygon, three basic geometry we use in the vector data. So when we generate this vector raster information or data into our system, then we need another data type or data models to define the characteristics of these objects. You can see here in this image, the satellite image is shown in the background. On top of it, there is a green color feature. For example, this feature where my mouse is here. So you can see here in this particular location, the object is identified as a building. But now we need to store the characteristics of this building. Who is the owner of this building? What kind of activities we are doing? Either it is a commercial building, it is a private building, it is a shopping center, hospital, bank, school, and so on. All these characteristics we need to store in attribute data, which basically we store as a tabular information. So combining the spatial data and attribute data, we can make our complete data set of geodata. So here you can understand when we are storing and managing the geographical data or spatial data, we are storing the attribute as well as geometry object. So geometry, attribute, or sometime raster as a pixel, we can also store here. Now, during the last sessions, we already discussed about the concept of the layers. If you try to understand the concept of this layer with respect to computer science, these are nothing. These are simple tables stored in the database. But when we are storing these tables in the database, we are creating one more attribute or field there named as a geometry. When this attribute is stored as a geometry data type in the database system, then by using the GIS algorithms or GIS softwares, we can generate these beautiful maps or beautiful geometries and raster features on the fly. So on runtime environment also we can generate this kind of object for presenting to our users. So here these layers are basically stored as a table in the database system, and then we can apply a different type of queries or SQL statements on the geometrical object. So all the database system these days, including Oracle, MySQL or Postgres and PostGIS combination, DB2, all these database systems are basically supporting a geometry data type into the database system. And now it becomes more simple when there is a NoSQL database, because in the NoSQL database I can also store object database or document database inside that. So then easily I can manage and store these data inside my database system. Now, when we have the large database, either it is a vector data or it is a raster data, so then how to share this data to our users? So ultimately, these days we are using the online platforms or through websites, web portals or geoportals, we share the data to our users. So here the one of the critical complexity in this database is the size of this data. Generally the geographical data or geodata is a large in size because it stores the attribute plus other complexity like geometries, rasters, and also it has the complexity like projection system data and so on. It makes this data very big in size, and sharing this data through the online platforms, especially through the websites and web portals, it is a critical challenge for the developers. So here there are many such website and portal already exist today. One of the website is Google Maps. Already we are using this website for many of the applications. You can see the satellite image in the background. On top of this satellite image, different navigation maps are available, and we are very nicely using these maps for different type of navigation applications in our day-to-day life. Similar to this Google Map, or sometime little different platforms are available like USGS Earth Explorer. This is one of the biggest data repository where they have stored and managed the data from different space agencies, and this data you can download the historical data of last 40 years or maybe 50-year data from the different satellite mission through this USGS Earth Explorer. Then we have the Sentinel Open Access Hub from European Space Agency, NASA Earth Data Search, Google Map, Bing Map. Then we have the OpenStreetMap. This is another website which offer these vector data sets, these boundaries, the road networks, the point location, and so on for download to the users. Then ISRO also hosts one very important geoportal called Bhuvan. It is basically hosting the more than 60 terabyte of data related to our country. Along with the satellite imagery, it also stores the data from thematic domains like urban planning, agriculture. We have data from geological site, forest and environmental data, many data sets related to different natural disasters. All these data sets are hosted into this website, and continuously ISRO is updating this information for the users. Finally, these data sets are being used by different government ministries and departments for various government plans and projects. And ISRO Bhuvan platform basically is offering data and technology to these ministry and department. There are many commercial data providers as well, like a Digital Globe, then GeoAirbus Defense, and so on. These online data repositories are offering different type of data and the location services to the users. That was about the physical data sharing. That means through these website you can visit there and you can download the data. The another approach what the geographical domain or geographical information system or GIS domain offer is a API based data access and sharing, which is becoming very popular here. Because if you see the complexity in the geographical data or geospatial data is a size and plus the location information. These two things are making it very, very complex in nature. So sometime if data is very frequently updating or the updation frequency is very, very fast, generally the users are not preferring to download this data as a local data into their computers, because when they are downloading the local data, the recent update may not be available for them. So that's why to accessing the real-time data from the remote data servers, the API based data access is becoming very, very important. Of course, the data security is more here. We can apply different type of rules with our data sets. We can also restrict some part of the data as per the data security and privacy is concerned. And here the API based data sharing is very, very important with respect to a document or standard that we describe basically with our data sets. And we can also apply some of the policies or some of the guidelines, restrictions with this data sets. If you are coming from the background of computer science, you know that the APIs are very, very popular these days, and most important benefit of this API based data sharing is it is interoperable platforms. So here the APIs are available for iOS, Android, Windows, and same APIs can be accessible for web application through web browsers like Chrome, Safari, Microsoft Edge or Mozilla Firefox and so on. So it became very, very interoperable. When I say that, and or I'm sharing my data to the users, I must have this interoperability inbuilt into my system so that my data will be more useful or more popular to the users. And this slide is just showing how we work with the APIs. So you know that in the client applications is required, then we have the API request will come to the system, and server database will execute this request and then generate the API response and send back to the users. So here we have the end users, developers, APIs and database. So here in between the developer and the database, the connections are set up through the APIs, which is making it more protective and more secure in the nature. Then in case of GIS, we have different APIs available with us. GIS application programming interface are collection of libraries, modules that resemble the various functionalities of GIS software through the programming. You know that we have different type of processing in the geographical data like geoanalytics, geoprocessing, geocoding, geometry analysis, geo-enrichments, mapping, applications, and real-time access of data, rasters, networks, semantic, and so on. All these geographical processing or functionalities we can enable through the GIS APIs. And these APIs are on demand. If you take the example of these APIs like Google Map APIs, if you are willing to integrate Google Map into your own software, then these Google Map APIs are readily available to you. Similarly, from ISRO side, ISRO Bhuvan Map APIs, we have the API from our Vedas portals, Mosdec portal. Beautiful APIs are there. So these APIs directly you can integrate into your own software, and then so that you will get the real-time data. There are technologies like for tracking the location, which is a very, very important tracking solutions. We have the GPS, very popular. Then we have the Navic, GLONASS, and then Wi-Fi based access point triangulations, cellular tower triangulations, Bluetooth beacons, radio frequency identifications. They also are there in the market, which are basically offering the location of an object. So here, as per our requirement, we can adopt this technology, and you can see here, all these are using generally the Wi-Fi network. This is a basically wireless network they are using. So here, in case of GPS, what kind of security challenges are there? In case of Wi-Fi access point triangulations, what type of security are there? That we'll be discussing in the coming time. So in the coming slide. So you can see here, these technologies are very, very popular, and these technologies are providing a location-based services to their users. Now let us try to understand what is this location-based service. A location-based service is a software service for mobile device application that required knowledge about where the mobile device is geographically located. When I say the mobile device, that means some user or any user is basically taking this device and moving around the system. When I am tracking the location of a mobile device, that means I am tracking the users or my customer, my client. So here the application collects the geodata, which is data gathered in real time using one or more location tracking technologies. Here it is not limited to the GPS. You know that generally the GPS signals you will not get inside the cemented roof. When you are sitting inside the room, you may not get the GPS signal. But the question is, when I am inside the room, that time also I need the location information. So how to track it? So there are these technologies. In the last slide what I discussed, all these technologies are there. Basically these days the software developers or the OEM or suppliers, those are giving the services to the users, they are combining all these technologies together and offering the location based services. You know that where we are using, you know that navigation and travel information including real time traffic notifications, store and service locators, fleet and mobile workforce management tracking, inventory monitoring, anti theft prevention, fraud prevention using location based services, proximity based marketing, roadside assistance, social networking, surveillance, augmented reality, and so on. Just recall the services from Zomato, Swiggy, or Amazon or Flipkart. How you are tracking the your delivery boy, how the delivery boy is reaching your location. Basically, they are using all these location-based services, and here, when they are using the location, because these are very common these days. So in fact in cities almost everyone is using sometime in their life these are the location based services. But these location based services where we are enabling, it also give us a exciting application like geofencing. This is a totally new domain. It is being used in the many applications like the defense, the strategical applications, and the disaster time, any emergency time. The geofencings are becoming very popular. What exactly it is? So geofence is a virtual perimeter of a real world geographical area. A geofence could be dynamically generated or match a predefined set of boundaries. The use of a geofence is called geofencing, and one example of use involves a location aware device of a location based service user entering or exiting a geofence. You can see here, suppose I create a geofence application for my users. So if I define that, you need to only be there within the boundary of these locations. So you know that I can create this kind of proximity or this kind of virtual boundaries or virtual fencing. So whenever the user is within this fence, then everything is okay. If you define the boundaries of a user, if the user just crossing this geofence, they automatically alert and alarm will come. And the concept of geofencing is very popular these days. In fact, many of the applications, especially in the marine system or in ocean, sea surface, when there is a movement, how they will identify the boundaries of a country, because there is nothing visible in the sea surface. So if geofence is there, then we can understand up to what level the boundary of our country is there, so that we should not cross this level. There may be some other security issues. So geofencing is another important application, basically, which is dealing with the location data. Now, when we have this background of data and its application, now I hope you must have understood what exactly issue is there. Now, what are the cybersecurity issues here? The important dimension of cybersecurity like network security, cyber physical security, data information security, application security. So here, in this kind of data, this kind of applications, the data information security and application security plays very important role. So what are the threats here? So what are the risks by using the location based services? So when you are keeping or allowing any mobile app or any customer service to get your location information, in this recent past, the application creators, the mobile device developers and mobile network operators have been accused of tracking devices and user without their consent. This is a very major concern. Whenever you are installing any mobile app or any software in your computer or mobile, so if they are capturing your location without your consent, then it is a very big issue. Sometimes they are asking the consent. So would like this particular app would like to take your location, but knowingly or unknowingly we are simply say that yes, allow it. So location tracking data is the wrong hand can lead to a situation where criminals, thieves, or the like a stalkers could use this information to assist with their crime. So if your location is shared without or maybe knowingly or unknowingly, then it can be a threat for you. On a lesser scale, the data can be used for unsolicited and unwanted targeted marketing or advertising. Companies that may find the overlay intrusive. So when you are sharing your location, a lesser scale, you can say that they can use this location information for their marketing strategies. So they can target you. To reduce the security risk of using location-based services, it is advised to limit when applications are authorized to track users. So here you have to see very carefully when the any application is asking for your location data. Location is very, very important. If you further try to understand in the location-based services what are the cyber threats, there are serious questions about how vendors who gather that data use and sell it, most often without users' knowledge. The companies can obtain location data in various ways, like your cell tower locations, signal-based technologies. So here, whenever you are getting this your signals of your cell towers, so it can also detect your location. It's not necessary that if your location or your GPS is off, they will not able to track you, because through the cell tower location also they can apply this simple triangulation concept there, and by applying this triangulation concept up to few meters, maybe 200 to 300 meters accuracy, they can capture your location. Wi-Fi internet access point technologies, we have the crowdsourcing positioning, like when you are using the social media. So through these technologies also your location can be tracked. GPS or AGPS or hybrid technology can be adopted here. There are location information could be a cyber threat, like disclosures, tracking behavior, identity theft, personal security and surveillances and so on. So here these services or LBS is very, very interesting. It gives us very, very much comfort in the services offered by these companies, but we have to be very, very careful in this domain as well. There is something called geotargeting. This cyber threat is a very, very critical threat, and what the cyber attackers do here, they are using your location for geotargeting. Based on your location, they are basically doing some of the activities for their interest of their business. Like geotargeting is a location specific cyber attack which targeted to specific class of users. It's not applicable for everyone, because geotargeting is more serious here, because if the attack is applicable for all, and when I say the all, they are the cyber expert and non-expert, everyone is included here. But if it is a target to a particular class of client which are not cyber aware or cyber security aware users, then it is going to become more serious here. The cyber attack methods are adopted based on local conditions and user behaviors, and this attack are more prone to success of the attackers. So here, since they are targeting specific class of users, then success rates are very, very high. In case of geotargeting, the IP to location is very, very popular. The attackers can get access of location through your IP address also, because this technique is well proven, and through IP to location, at least up to your building level information can be tracked here. So because whenever these IP addresses are assigned to a organizations or to a device, in that case these IP addresses are geo defined. So here it has some level of accuracy, and the setting of your computers or mobiles, such as language, call and message details, are sufficient to know your behavior. Suppose they have the data of your call details, their message details, what type of messages you are receiving, what type of messages you are sending. So very easily, by applying any AI or deep learning based techniques, I can understand your behavior very well. So please be careful while giving permission to any software application to access your system setting. So there are many examples for geotargeting, very popular and successful, like Redico, Shadowpad were targeted to India, various banking Trojans designed to pinpoint Brazil, like we have the DDAX is a predominant in US and Germany. We have the trust jab, the most prevalent and the in case of German speaking countries. U-bot is a popular in Hong Kong and Japan. There are many. There are so many cases where the specific cyber attacks are designed and developed for a specific class of user for a specific location. So these are called geo-targeting attacks. Then there are something called one term my colleague must have discussed about the malware, but there is something called geo-malware or ransomware, which basically in the recent past it is observed that the most ransomware being distributed by attachment in email. This is one of the very common method of attacking or targeting the users, which are carefully crafted in your local language and spoof local locations like your region's postal services or local law enforcement agency during luring you to open the attachment and download the ransomware. So what does it mean? See, they will basically try to understand where you are living. Suppose I am living in Dehradun. They will draft a message or email message from the local administration, like local municipality of Dehradun. You know that they know that I am from Dehradun, or if they want a very more specific, if they know that I am living in this particular colony, then they can draft a specific message from the residents of my nearby locality. This kind of attacks are also possible. So here this is a very serious attack these days. It's called geo malware attack. Then we have how to avoid geo-targeted attacks. So of course in all the lectures we are saying that you have to be very attentive. You should have the knowledge about what you are doing with your mobile or your softwares. Install the anti-malware and web protector solutions. Regular backup your important files. Keep the least one recent backup offline. Be very careful about the opening email attachments. Always keep your computers, device and application up to date with the latest security patches. Use a strong and unique password for all your account. These are the general guidelines for all kind of cyber security alerts and advisory. So same thing is applicable in the location or geo-targeted attack as well. In case of official use, you have to update the latest software patches. Do not use login and administrator right. Please use login credential with minimum rights. Don't enable macros. Macros are becoming very serious threat. Train and retrain the employees in your business. Your users can be your weakest link. And treat security as a system. Even extra layer of protections, whether encryptions or synchronized endpoint to network solutions, will help protect against the increasingly sophisticated threats. So here the awareness is important. Second is you have to keep your system up to date. Suppose another challenge in this domain of geodata sharing is, suppose you are hosting the data servers or you are hosting the geoportals or web applications for sharing the geographical data. There are some security features in web framework which are applicable for geodata sharing and disseminations, which need to be taken care, like authentication system like JSON or web token like JWT you can apply here. Reduce the vulnerabilities from CSRF, which is very popular in the GIS applications like cross-site request forgery. We have the protection against accesses like a cross-site scripting, prevent the SQL injection, clickjacking protections, host header validations, referral policy, cross-origin opener policy, SSL and HTTPS, which of course are very important. These techniques will definitely help you to host a secure GIS or geodata sharing platform. So in case of authentication system, you have to authenticate users for each request they make, while provide the facilitate users retrieval from the databases. A JSON web token that is called JWT is a JSON object which is used to securely transfer information over the web. It can be used for an authentication system and can also be used for information exchange. The token is mainly composed of the headers, payload, and signature. So here, using the JWT for authentication of user is very, very important. So if you are applying this JWT based authentication system, it can make your the system more secure for hosting. In conclusions, I can say that geodata and its applications are becoming integral part of our daily life, and location-based services are very, very popular for many citizen application services, and cybersecurity threats are very critical in sharing location information. Installation and utilization of location-aware software applications need to be critically studied by the users, and the host organizations also need to evaluate their solution and services with respect to cybersecurity before making it open for public access. So what is happening sometime, I am hosting any geodata sharing platform or website or geoportals, knowingly or unknowingly my system is transmitting a lot of security threats or viruses to my users. So all these things we have to keep in mind so that we should be safe and secure while accessing the location based services or geodata in our daily life. With this, I thank all the listeners for joining this particular session. Now we can take few questions for discussion. I request all the participants to please post your question through the e-class platform. We'll start the interactive session after break of 5 minutes. Thank you very much.